Hi, this is Erik Janeczko with your Business Exceleration E-Zine for June 2011. Actually, I'm getting this out to you a little bit early because I'm out on the road today and tomorrow doing training workshops with loan officers and real estate agents, helping them really market and make some things happen to bring this real estate market back. And it reminded me of a great opportunity that's going to be coming up over the next couple of weeks here, where you're going to have an opportunity to see people that you may only see once or twice a year, and you're going to be able to connect with a whole bunch of new people. So this month's episode is really about how to make your networking work. The reason I'm kind of in a hurry to get this out to you today is because of the fact that, this time of year, at the end of the school year, with your kids and those kind of things, there's a lot of networking activities. There's a lot of barbecues, and over the summer, there's also another great time where you're going to have a lot of social events that go on that give you an opportunity to either meet new people or reconnect with people that you may not see all that often. And so what I wanted to share with you in this month's E-Zine is some tips and strategies that you can use to make that an opportunity to help some people and to make a bigger impact. As you probably realized over the months, I'm passionate about making sure that it's not about us, it's about them, and that we are communicating that value to those people. So, approached with some pretty mundane and common questions that we hear pretty frequently, we can answer those things in a positive manner and be proactive in communicating strengths, opportunities, and values in the market about how to help people solve the needs that they have or take advantage of the opportunities that we see in the market that they may not necessarily see out there. So when we're looking at going to these events, whether it's the school awards ceremony or the end of year banquet or those kind of things where you're going to bump into 50, 80, 100 people, or whether it's the charity golf tournament or fundraiser barbecue, you have a huge opportunity to connect with literally a ton of people. And you guys have heard me talk about the fishing analogy. You got two options for how to catch fish. You can fish with a rod and reel, or you can fish with a net. Rod and reel, there's a lot of things that can go wrong that can keep the fish in the water instead of getting them in the boat. But what if we fish with a net? Different strategy, more consistent results. So if you're talking about eating on a regular basis, probably the better method to go with. So how do we cast a huge net, one that brings in a lot more opportunities and talks about and shares with that opportunity with a much wider audience? So that's kind of what today's strategy is all about. So let's talk about two different scenarios. One, the people who don't know you, and a little bit later we'll talk about the people who do know you. So what's the most common question you hear at a networking event or a social engagement where you're meeting a new person for the first time? Well, in it, 9 out of 10 times you're going to hear somebody ask you, what do you do? So how do you respond to that? Oh, I'm a mortgage guy. Oh, I'm in real estate. Well, does that create any unique impression? I mean, think about, the old cliche, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. It's really all about labeling and how prepared you are to communicate. I mean, think about it from this perspective. What's the importance of a label? I mean, what would you pay more for? A ratty dog or an English Cocker Spaniel? I know which one I'd pay more for, if I can afford it. But, the practical reality is it's, again, it goes back to that old cliche, if you never get a second chance to make a first impression. Well, the reason we tend to ignore that statement is because it's so true, because we hear it so often. So how do you create a great first impression that also leads to planting a seed about what opportunities you see in the market and how you desire to help people? It's what we call a hub statement, or a huge unique benefit statement. I mean, when I introduce myself to people, and I want to introduce myself more in a coaching environment, what I do from a coaching perspective, I usually tell some people something along the lines, we help professionals and individuals implement strategies that accelerate their personal or professional growth through our unique Business Acceleration Program. We help them get from where they are to where they want to be in less time. So, if I'm introducing myself in a mortgage environment or an origination environment, I'll typically say something along the lines of, we help families achieve their financial goals faster by not only looking at their mortgage and debt, but also everything else that's going on in their financial life, and then help them build a custom program to achieve those goals faster through our comprehensive home and asset management program. that creates a uniquely, distinctly different impression than saying, I'm a loan officer, or I'm a real estate agent. And that also is a great way to leapfrog into some of these opportunity-based, hey, now's a great time to think about blah, blah, blah. And we'll get into that in just a second. But I want to take a step back and give you an opportunity to really break down what a hub statement involves so you can go create your own and start actually using it. HUB stands for huge, unique benefit. Okay? Well, that breaks down into basically 4 parts. Who you help, action, what you do to help them, third, what benefit they receive from the action you take, and then if you want, an optional, dress it up and make it look really pretty, a lot more like the English Cocker Spaniel, is put a nice title on it. Label what you do. Instead of just being the everyday, common, ignored thing you do, put a title on it. How much more credibility does establishing a comprehensive financial development plan through our comprehensive home and asset management program? The professionalism and the credibility of the comprehensive home and asset management program or a home opportunity review is much stronger than putting a mortgage together. So, here I want you to do, take a few seconds, look at the screen, write down these options, come up with your own hub statement. Take a few seconds, pause the video here. Implement right now. Start playing with this a little bit. Maybe rewind a couple of seconds here and listen to what you heard me say in those 2 hub statements. And put some action plans behind this. Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit. Okay, we talked about how to introduce yourself to people who don't know you. Now let's talk a little bit about how to introduce yourself to people who do know you. And what do you typically hear from them? What do they normally ask you? How's it going? What are you up to? Those type of questions, you could say, great, better than I ought to be, or better than I deserve to be, which is a fun way of answering it, but does that really lead towards where things are? What if we took it one step further and we created a positive, opportunity-based response that set a positive impression, turned the environment around, and put a positive spin on how things are working? And at the same time, shared some of those opportunities with that individual and prepared that individual for how to identify other people in his sphere of contacts who could benefit from some of the things we see in the market. So here's a kind of a strategy for how to respond to the how's it's going question. And by the way, when we talk about scripting, we never talk about memorizing bullet, word for word, verbatim. What I want you to do is think about, first of all, the goals of what we're trying to communicate and accomplish in that setting. And then secondly, what are some of the phrases, wording, and format, or outline, bullet points of what we could say that would get us there most likely. So, goals of this particular opportunity, this particular statement is 1, plant the opportunity seed. Help that individual understand the opportunities we see in the market and create that top-of-mind awareness for that individual. Second is prepare that individual for when he sees the opportunity or when the opportunity confronts him, he's able to grasp it and take advantage of it before it disappears. Third is to maybe even take it one step further and encourage that individual to be prepared and encourage referrals by talking about some of the specific examples of who could benefit in this market and identifying who would be a good potential person to introduce us to. And then also lead us into those who questions that we've covered a couple of times in previous month's episodes that's going to uncover those real opportunities to help people right now and maybe even gets us a lead or two. But just so you know, by the way, this strategy is working. I've been implementing this strategy for about 2.5, 3 weeks now, and I've literally generated 3 new leads for mortgages in the last week as a result of this particular method of responding. So, how's the script go? Well, something like this. If somebody were to approach me and ask me, how's it going? My response these days is, well, great, there's a ton of opportunities in the market. With interest rates and property values at their lowest levels in a long time, it's literally the best time in American real estate history to buy a home. Anybody who's renting right now in my market, $500 or $600 a month, is an $80,000 to $90,000 house. That's a heck of a nice house. A lot of families are finding out that they can stop throwing their money away on rent and actually get themselves into a nicer home for less money a month than what they're paying in rent. So let me ask you something. Who do you know that should check into catching this opportunity before it disappears? Or, now by the way, that's kind of the response if I'm in that more social setting where, you know, we're at a more party networking event. We're there to talk, meet and greet, and get to know people better. And I know I'm going to have a few more minutes, which is a little different than the response I might reuse if it's, you know, somebody asking me how's it going, you know, 2 minutes before choir practice is supposed to start, kind of thing. So in that case, where I only have a couple of seconds, there's a program agenda, we're getting ready to get our seats for the program to start, kind of thing, movie line, those types of environments. I might be a little less in depth with that. I might say something along the lines of, you know, with interest rates and property values at the best level ever, it's an incredible time to think about buying a home. It's also an incredible time for anybody who hasn't looked at their mortgage in the last 6 months or to a year to get a mortgage checkup and find out if there's an opportunity to benefit, because it's literally the best time in the last year and a half, back to rates that we saw back in October, to look at restructuring your mortgage and doing some other things with your finances, free up some cash. You know, and as I'm talking to the individual who asked me how's it going, I'm going to use a shorter, quicker response. You know, hey, interest rates, property values are incredible. It's an awesome time to think about buying or refinancing a mortgage. You know, when you bump into somebody who's renting, who ought to think about buying, or when you bump into somebody who, you know, maybe you can ask them, you know, what kind of interest rate are they looking at? If it happens to be that they're sitting at, you know, 5.5 or better, have them give me a call. It doesn't hurt anything to look and see what we can do. But make sure you call me with their name and contact information so I can follow up appropriately and make sure they don't miss this opportunity before it disappears. So I can shortcut that script and I can put it into more concise statement so that I'm still communicating a lot of value. Now, by the way, you may have noticed something in here. $500 to $600 a month in rent is about an $80,000 to $90,000 mortgage with current rates and prices. But in my market, the $90,000 house is a decent 15 to 20-year-old 2-bed, 2-bath home with maybe even with a 2-car garage. Okay? Typical $500 to $600 a month is going to be your typical townhome or garden-style apartment in this month is what rents go for. And what I'm finding is around the country, the numbers work out about the same. They're just a little bit higher dollar amounts. You know, I've got a client of mine in Memphis, Tennessee area. His average market's probably $800 a month for a garden-style apartment, 2-bed, 1-bath apartment rent, and you know, home prices are $120,000 to $130,000. I've got, you know, clients in California and New Jersey who, you know, their average, you know, apartment, you know, 2-bed, 1-bath condo-style apartment or garden-style apartment, you're probably talking $1,200 to $1,500 a month. $1,200 to $1,500 a month mortgage payment. What does that equate to in home price? $180,000 to $200,000 home. Guess what? $180,000 to $200,000 home is a decent 1,400 square foot 2-bed, you know, 3-bed, 2-bath, 2-car garage home. You know, perfect starter home in that market as well. Like I said, do the numbers for your market. I would be surprised if you didn't get pretty close to where somebody could actually potentially get a nicer home for at or a little less than what they're paying in rent currently in this market. Anyway, I'm getting off track a little bit, but you know, getting back to the original networking strategies, the whole idea here is be prepared. Be prepared to talk to people about what the opportunities are on the market, how they can benefit, and how their friends, family, and colleagues could benefit. You know, okay? So the last thing I want to close with today is take a few minutes here, stop, and put yourself into an action plan. What did you hear that you liked in today's video? What was the most valuable thing that you heard? What action do you need to take to move forward on getting that going in your business? By when would you like to have that action completed and that strategy up and running in your business on a regular basis? And fourth, who can or will, and can means ability, will has the willingness to hold you accountable to following through on executing this one particular strategy that you're deciding on right now. So otherwise, if you have any other questions or concerns about any of our coaching programs, simply give me a call. We'll set up one of these strategy sessions for you. Otherwise, make it a great month, and we'll see you on next month's issue.